Hey all, here at OS Reviews. Today you're watching our hands-on review of the HTLL LED mini home projector. So this is one of the least expensive home projectors that has a native 720p resolution on the market. So a lot of these low-cost units that are under $50 that you see on Amazon will probably only have a 480p or lower resolution, which on paper doesn't seem to be very good at all, as the televisions are getting 2K or 4K resolution. Obviously, this is just a fraction of the price, but we at least hope for HD quality. This at least tries to deliver that in a affordable option. So in the box, we have access to the projector, which comes in two colors, black and white. We'll take a closer look in a second. Other contents include the quick start guide, which is fairly bare bones, to be honest. There's also a remote that uses two AAA batteries, along with the charger, in addition to an AC cable and a free HDMI cable as an added bonus. So taking a look at the design of the projector now, the body is made entirely out of polycarbonate plastic, but it feels actually pretty well built. It reminds me a little bit of a BenQ projector, which is not a bad reference at all, because those are much more expensive. So as a whole, it doesn't creak or cringe, and everything seems to be fairly well made. The top here does have access to all the controls if you don't want to use the remote, such as the up, down, left, right navigation keys, menu selection keys, power switch, as well as going back into the menu interface. It has a pretty primitive operating system that is not based on Android, but you can use that to operate and navigate between files stored on an SD card or a thumb drive that you want to plug into this thing directly. USB-based port, HDMI, VGA, 3.5mm jack, and AV if you want to convert this to RGB for older DVDs and gaming consoles that uses that type of port. There's also ventilation grills on the side, in addition to an IR port on the top that will respond to the remote. There is a lens cap that protects it from getting scratched, as well as dust from getting accumulated. And I can also rotate this to change the focus depending on how far away you are from the wall. The other side features the AC power input, and if we look very closely, it says the small model number is the E08. So here's what the image quality is like. Right now it's roughly 120 inches diagonally, so it's a pretty large display on a flat white wall. If I zoom all the way in, you can still see a little bit of pixelation, but overall it's not too crippling. Text for the most part is still going to be quite legible already, so if you're giving some PowerPoint presentations, especially those with lots of visuals, then it does still work quite well even for office use, of course in addition to being home entertainment use. The overall UI is a lot simpler than I thought. Basically you plug it in, and if I tap on let's say the source key, that's where I can change back and forth between things like USB, micro SD card, things like that. And if I'm satisfied with what I want, I can tap on OK, and you can see right now we have 720p at 60 Hertz. So you can see that text in terms of news articles is fully legible without any problems. Color saturation also seems to be reasonably good. It's not the most vibrant or saturated, especially because, again, the Lumens output isn't the brightest that I've seen, but as a whole, colors are pretty accurate looking, and you can definitely enjoy clips as well as movies and some light gaming without too many problems. And the sound that you're hearing right now, if you listen closely, is produced by the fan on the projector. That just prevents it from getting overheated. So it's definitely not silent by any means. It's about the same as what you'll find on a gaming PC or laptop. So it's not too crippling, but it is present if you listen super closely in a really quiet environment. But if you're watching a movie with sound, it doesn't become a problem at all, in my opinion. So we're going to play back a quick clip on YouTube just as a demo of also the built-in speakers, which it does have. And you can, again, change the focus ever so slightly if you want to kind of change the resolution as you play around with it in terms of the distance from the wall. I can also change the keystone or the tilt using one of the scroll dials on the top of the unit. So if you are pointing and not completely flush at a flat wall, you can also change the tilt ever so slightly, but you do that manually. So pausing the sample there, the takeaway is that the built-in speakers are decent. They don't pack too much bass or too much punch, but they do fill up a reasonable amount of space. They get decently loud. So as far as built-in projector speakers are concerned, not bad at all. You can obviously improve on the quality if you want to plug in external speakers. Something to note though is it doesn't have an optical jack, which is something that we did see on a few of its competitors. So you aren't able to hook it up, I guess, to some more professional studio setups unless you have a converter of sorts. A few other quick demos. This is another image that we can take a look at. Definitely not the most saturated looking picture overall, but overall definitely still a fairly enjoyable experience. And again, colors can be adjusted if you want to fine-tune things like the saturation, the contrast, things like that, by playing around with the settings, which I'll show you in a second. But again, as a whole, not a bad viewing experience at all for this particular price. So if I tap on something like the menu key, for instance, that's where we can change the aforementioned color temperature. I can also reduce the noise if I want to of the fan ever so slightly. I can change the properties of the built-in speakers. Definitely a few adjustments that you can make if you wanted to. Now we have the lights turned on. This is just some dim lights in the room, and you can see how the colors will as well as the viewing experience definitely degrades if there is background lighting. This is still going to be a very small, relatively portable projector in my book. So it's not something that you would want to use, again, if you have windows open, if you're using it in broad daylight, it's not going to work as well there. But if you have the lights dimmed, if you have it in a room with the curtains drawn, then that's where it will actually work quite well. Alright, so that's more or less our hands-on review of the HTLL E08 mini LED/LCD projector. As a whole, I would say for the price, it definitely delivers one of the better values that you'll find on the market because, again, most $50 projectors will only give you 480p or worse, and those tend to look very pixelated. It's not good at all for reading text. It's just not a very enjoyable experience. But on this, with a sharper resolution, it at least gives you a better quality when watching back videos and can be actually quite enjoyable for some quick home cinema clips, as well as enjoying some YouTube videos with friends and family, and for, again, taking with you, maybe if you're giving a quick presentation, something like that. It doesn't get terribly bright, but again, you should have your expectations tempered considering the low price in the first point. And for casual use, including gaming, for use in a dorm or in a tighter space, it certainly is something that you should take a closer look at. Alright, so thanks for watching this video here at OS Reviews, and stay tuned for some additional details, including a possible giveaway that is thanks to HTLL. So if you're interested in that, be sure to read some additional details down in the description box below. But again, this has just been our review. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.